We have made it to the last of the indicative simple tenses. Hola, my name is Angelica with Final Mile Español para mí. If you are doing the lessons in the recommended sequence, you have already done the first 4 simple tenses. The great news is that this one, the conditional number 5, is just as easy as the last one, the future number 4. They have a lot in common. As you continue to more advanced lessons, you will learn that the future number 4 and the conditional number 5 continue to have more similarities. But staying with the conditional number 5 for now, we use it to express potential action. She would go with you. They would paint it red. Let's do it. The conditional is tense number 5, and after this one we do a review of the first 5 tenses together. This is where we are in the curriculum module, yes, still in regular verb conjugation. The prerequisites are the foundational stuff: intro to conjugation, letters and sounds, infinitive, gerundio, and past participle, and syllables. You will do much better if you have these foundational lessons behind you. Also, if you have already done the future number 4, this will be absolutely a piece of cake. It will be very easy. They have a lot in common. The conditional is used for speculation or conditional expressions, okay? So, for example, here you can see that I am speculating as to whether Eva would clean it faster, right? Or we can say Eva would clean it if you would pay her. That's a conditional. This is the endings that we are going to learn it now. Notice that in English we use 2 words for this tense. Would clean, as opposed to Eva cleans or Eva cleaned. Okay, this one uses to, like the future: will clean, would clean, or used to clean. So some of them in English use multiple words, but in Spanish it's only 1 word. It's this ia ending that makes it mean would. Okay, so let's read this. Eva lo limpiaría más rápido. And rhetorical questions in the past. This is something that we are going to learn in more advanced lessons. So just like we can use in Spanish, and we often do use the future for rhetorical questions or speculation in the present, so can we use the conditional for speculation in the past. Here, this is the past. I wonder if in the past they went to the market. So same ending. Irían al mercado. So we are not worried in this lesson about mastering these concepts, right? And tense use and time designator, we will cover them in depth. For now, we are only concerned and we are very focused on the mechanics. What is this ending and how do we do that? By now, you are hopefully very familiar, if you are taking the lessons in sequence, with the verbs that we use for learning conjugation. Okay, let's recall that if you took the future number 4, this is also similar to the future because it uses the whole infinitive. Number 1, 2, and 3 use only the stem down here, okay? But number 4 and number 5 use the whole infinitive. Let's learn the endings. Notice that on top of the I is a graphic accent, okay? That's not just a dot. This is a dot. This is a graphic accent. Let's use the highlighter to highlight pronunciation emphasis. And we will now practice pronouncing these verb forms. We want to make sure that we open our mouth big for this A 3 times. This is not can, this is can. And we don't want to shorten them. Here we go. Yo cantaría. Tú cantarías. Ella cantaría. Repeat after me. Out loud. Nosotros cantaríamos. Ustedes cantarían. Ellos cantarían. Let's learn the endings for ER verbs. Ooh, nice, nice, nice. We see that the endings are the same. Let's put the highlighter on it so that we have awareness and we remember our lungs have to work a little bit harder when we say that syllable, okay? Reminder on pronunciation, this is a closed O, always closed. So this is not com, this is co. Yo comería. This is a flutter R. We don't roll it. It is a single R between two vowels. This is the only time where an R in Spanish is not rolled. Tú comerías. Él comería. Nosotros comeríamos. Ustedes comerían. Ellas comerían. The more you focus on the details of your pronunciation now, because we are doing so much repetition, okay, that's why I go so slowly so that you can clearly hear the vowels and hopefully imitate me and get in the habit of doing the vowels like that, okay? That is what is going to perfect your accent. Let's now learn the endings for IR verbs. Okay, and we see that they are exactly the same. Let's put the highlighter on pronunciation emphasis syllables. And let's go ahead and practice pronouncing these, okay? So here, remember, we have to smile 3 times. Feel yourself. Be aware that you are lengthening that vowel, right? It is the best way to break the English habit of short vowels and establish a very, very nice Spanish accent. Also, here we have a flutter R or Betty R, as we call it, between 2 I's. That is a very challenging sound to make in the beginning. Okay, the I and the R in the transition. So for that reason, it is easier to lengthen the vowels. Okay, so here we go. Yo viviría. Say it just like that. Tú vivirías. Él viviría. What does that mean? He would live. For example, he would live here, but he has to work in Connecticut. Okay? So, nosotros viviríamos. Ustedes vivirían. Ellos vivirían. Okay, before we move on, let's review, okay? And try to remember the details yourself. And we're going to review them in the homework and practice exercise. So, try to remember it here, but you don't stress because you will see it when you're doing the exercise. But, okay, what do we know that is the same as the future? 2 things. We start with the whole infinitive, okay? We concatenate the endings to the whole infinitive. Same as the future. Number 4. The other thing that is the same is the endings do not vary, do not change between AR, ER, and IR. Okay? Other than that, the similarities are with the imperfect number 2. And after this lesson, we are going to do drills of all 5 tenses together so that we can see clearly what the similarities are and the differences so that we don't get confused, okay? So the similarities with the conditional are several, actually. There are 3 similarities with the conditional. First of all, you have seen this ian ending. Remember, ian likes aba. That is how we remember how to conjugate the imperfect, okay? So you have seen this ian ending for the er and ir verbs in the imperfect number 2, okay? But for ar, it was aba endings. So now, you might say, well, if the endings are the same, how can you tell the difference? Well, the imperfect only uses the stem. Comía, comías, comía. But the conditional uses the whole infinitive. Comería, comerías, and so on, okay? So we have seen, not to be confused, right? It's the same ending, but it is a different verb form. The other thing that is similar to the imperfect is, you may recall, first person singular and third person singular have the same verb form in the imperfect, okay? Yo cantaba, ella cantaba. And also here, yo cantaría, ella cantaría. So they have that in common, right? All the verb forms for first person singular and third person singular are the same. And the other thing is that once you have the verb form for the first person singular, that is the beginning of all the other verb forms, right? You just add es for tú, mos for nosotros, and ends down here, okay? Let's do the next set of verbs. You ready? Okay, I am sure you can do this very much on your own. This is as easy as it gets. So let's get the endings on there. And let's get pronunciation emphasis on there, okay? Do keep that in mind, okay? Don't tune it out. It is there to help you, to remind you, to be aware, to feel what you are doing with your lungs, okay? That you push a little harder, okay? Again, long A's, okay? Yo lavaría. Tú lavarías. Él lavaría. Nosotros lavaríamos. Ustedes lavarían. Ellos lavarían. I think you can guess the endings for vender. And pronunciation emphasis. So let's do the pronunciation, okay? Yo vendería. Tú venderías. Ella vendería. Nosotros venderíamos. Ustedes venderían. Ellas venderían. Let's do subir, to go up. Okay, so what does it mean if I say yo subiría? I want you to get used to translating to the meaning, right? I would go up if I weren't so tired. Okay? All right, here we go. This is not sub, okay? We don't want to speak Spanish in English. Be reminded of the syllables. Subiría. Okay, here we go. Yo subiría. Tú subirías. Ella subiría. Nosotros subiríamos. Ustedes subirían. Ellos subirían. We are going to do this repetition until you lose your voice, okay? That's the idea. When you do the homework and practice exercise, you don't just want to learn the pronunciation, right? We are building on what we learned before, so this is where you perfect your pronunciation and your accent. You want to be aware. You want to go over everything that you learned in syllables or how to speak Spanish without an accent. You want to practice the variable consonants that we learned in Spanish letters and sounds. This is where it all comes together. This isn't just about conjugation. It is about perfecting that pronunciation and that accent. The next three, you probably have them memorized by now. Okay, we are doing the conditional. We use the whole infinitive. And we know the endings, okay? Ia endings. And the pronunciation emphasis. Okay, this has the additional challenge of the pronunciation of the ñ. This consonant sounds like ny in cañe or beñe. Okay, again, long A's, flatter R because it's single R between two vowels. Yo bañaría. Tú bañarías. Ella bañaría. Nosotros bañaríamos. Ustedes bañarían. Ellos bañarían. Okay, another bit of a challenge here. And by the way, hopefully you did a homework and practice exercise with ñ words to practice. Those are very effective because it gives you all ñ words, right? So you get used to it. If you feel like you need a refresher, go and pull that tarea out of your binder and do more repetitions. Do the naturalization part again. And now here we have another one that is a bit challenging if you are still working on rolling your R's. If you haven't taken the lesson, that is the articulation of our lesson, the last part of how to speak Spanish without an accent. We are practicing all this here. Let's do the highlighter on the pronunciation emphasis. And now I want you to know that this is going to be a little bit challenging because if you still are not the rolled R has not naturalized yet, so you have to focus on configuring your speech muscles to make this sound, and then you don't have a whole lot of time to reconfigure them to do the Betty R. Okay, so the trick to do that is to lengthen this vowel. Okay, so that we don't stop, right? We just want to flow from one sound to the other. So we are going to say yo correría. Did you see how I lengthened that E to give my speech muscles a little bit more time to reconfigure? Okay, so these are sounds that are new to us. Okay, so we don't reconfigure very quickly yet, but it will come with practice. Let's say, tú correrías. Él correría. Nosotros correríamos. Ustedes correrían. Ellas correrían. What does that mean? They would run. Okay. All right. Another challenge in pronunciation here. All of these are pronunciation challenges. Okay. We have to smile 4 times here. Let's look at the endings. Okay. And put the pronunciation emphasis highlight on. Okay. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we shorten any of those, it is not good, right? So, let's try it. Yo insistiría. Did you hear it clearly? Let me say it again one more time for you, okay? Notice how I make these. I have to smile for all 4 of these. Insistiría. Tú insistirías. Él insistiría. This is not in, this is not sis, okay? Nosotros insistiríamos. Ustedes insistirían. Ellos insistirían. You're probably wondering, what does it sound like at normal speed? So let me do that for you just to satisfy your curiosity, okay? Ellos insistirían. I can say it faster because I am already used to pronouncing the vowels, okay? So as you get used to pronouncing the vowels, the time will shrink little by little and you will be able to say it perfectly, right? We just don't want to fall in the trap of shortening vowels and cementing a foreign accent. Let's do a few simple sentences so that we can sort of, get a better feel, a more rounded, well-rounded understanding of what this tense means. To prefer is preferir. You can tell when it's got an ia ending here. Okay, this is the whole infinitive if it means I would. Okay? Preferiría comprar un carro nuevo, pero no tengo dinero. Try it. So, gladly is con mucho gusto. I would help you. We have not yet learned these pronouns. That's in the future. So we can't analyze this very closely, but I just want you to have a feel for what you can express when you can conjugate the conditional. Notice the two words in English, would prefer, is just one word in Spanish, preferiría. Would help, ayudaría. Okay? Pero hoy is today, no puedo, I can't. Te ayudaría con mucho gusto, pero, okay, very are, pero hoy no puedo. Okay, sacar is to take out. Sacaría, I would take out. Okay, no hay tiempo, there is no time. Sacaría la basura, pero no hay tiempo. Lavar, as you know from the conjugation exercise in the previous slides, is to wash. Okay, so to do the laundry is to wash the clothes. La ropa is the clothes. Okay, this is the ending for nosotros. So this word here is we would wash. Okay, no hay, there is no soap. Jabón. Lavaríamos la ropa, pero no hay jabón. I will pick up the pace in speaking Spanish as we progress, right? So for now, the pronunciation is still very recent and we are still practicing, but it's going to get faster. Okay. Nos gustaría. Gustar is to please. It would be pleasing to us. Okay? Langosta, lobster. Cara, expensive. Nos gustaría comer langosta, pero es muy cara. Let's do a little bit of language awareness here. In English, we use a question in the conditional for polite requests. Okay. Would you please help me? Would help is the conditional. But we only use it to be polite. There is nothing conditional about it. Okay? What I really mean is help me, but I don't want to sound demanding. So I put it in the conditional and I may add please. Would you help me, please? In Spanish, however, we do not use the conditional. Okay? We use the present to have the same effect. Okay? Rather than saying help me, we say do you help me? We use the present. So, would you please help him clean up? Nothing conditional about this. The would help is being just used in the conditional to not sound demanding. Okay? This would not translate to the conditional in Spanish. This would translate to the present. Just because, culture, that's the way the language is used, okay? So as we progress and we start understanding what native speakers are saying, we are going to enter the naturalization part of our journey, and we are going to notice these things and start imitating them, and we will learn a whole lot in the natural way, exactly the way we learned English when we were 2 years old. Okay, let's pronounce this. Por favor, ¿le ayudas a limpiar? Okay, again, nothing conditional about this. I just don't want to sound rude and demanding. When that is the case, that conditional translates to the present in Spanish. Por favor, ¿me traes una Coca-Cola? Tarea time. Okay, we are still in volume 1 in the section for verbs, regular verbs. This is the title of the tarea, conditional conjugation. Again, there's going to be a whole other class and a whole other set of tareas for actually practicing using the verbs in sentences like we were doing in the previous slide, right? That was just to give you a little bit of context so that you don't feel so lost. Okay, but for now, here in this tarea, we are simply focusing on the endings and repeating them enough times so that it becomes naturalized. Okay, that is the homework ID. It is only 4 pages. If you don't have it, this is the QR code, and we have a discount code that you can use during this promotion. It is FM for Final Mile, FM YouTube for a 10% discount at checkout. Okay, this is what the tarea looks like. Notice that the blue is color coordinated to the color of the tense in the slides in the lesson here. There is your examples, ejemplos. Okay, and in the next pages, you have a whole list of regular verbs to practice conjugating the conditional number 5. And of course, the naturalization section at the end. So you are filling it out is only the first step, okay? It's the hard step, right? But you got to go and you have to do your repetitions. And as you do your repetitions, keep in mind that we are still letting pronunciation mature. So we are still paying attention to syllables. We are still paying attention to vowels and to pronunciation emphasis. All that is very important. There is the discount code again. And we made it. Thank you for your kind attention. Big congratulations! You have made it through the 5 indicative simple tenses. After you do the homework and practice exercises, including many repetitions, you will be ready for the capstone of this regular verb conjugation series, all 5 tenses together. It is a fun and important lesson because it allows us to compare and contrast the 5 tenses and review their use on a single page. I really like that lesson. I hope you do too. See you there.